In pot odds 1, we defined the term, taught you how to calculate the classic ratio form, and also how to convert that to the alternative percentage method. What we left out was the missing link about how to apply pot odds in poker to earn you chips. That missing piece is something called equity. Now, what is equity? It's defined as the percent chance that you win the hand by the river. In other words, what's the probability you have your opponent beat by the time you get to the river? Let's hit it home with a common example, a common time where you'd be interested in your equity in a hand, particularly when you have a flush draw. So, say you have ace of clubs, nine of clubs, and for argument's sake, your opponent has ace-king. It doesn't matter the suit, they're just not clubs. And the flop comes two clubs and a non-club king. So you and your opponent both like your hand. But your opponent happens to go all in, and you're faced with a difficult decision. You'd like to know, what's your equity? What's your percent chance of winning this hand by the river? Well, it turns out there's really only two ways you can win. You can hit running nines, or you can make your flush. And that's making your flush is really your only hope here. So what's your chances of making the flush? It turns out that's 1/3 of the time, or 33%. Don't worry how we calculate that, just take that as a given. But we have 33% chance of hitting our flush, so we'll say our equity in the hand is 33%. Now, let's calculate our pot odds on the other hand. Remember, to calculate pot odds, we need a pot as well as a call that we're facing. So, let's say our stack is 1,000. Our opponent has the same stack, and the pot is 1,000 as well. If our opponent leads out on this flop for his entire stack, the pot becomes 2,000. And the call we're facing is 1,000. In pot odds 1, we taught you to simplify this by dividing both sides by 1,000. And we say the pot's laying us 2-to-1 odds. In percentage terms, this is 1/3, or 33%. Now, it's no coincidence for this example, I've made our equity equal our pot odds. And what this means is in the long run, calling here will be break even. And if that's not readily apparent to you, don't worry. Let's do a little experiment to actually hit that point home. Let's say we play this exact hand out 300 times. Our opponent shoves on the flop. He has ace-king. For top pair, top kicker, we have the nut flush draw, and we always call. Sometimes we hit the flush and sometimes we don't. Turns out we hit it 33% of the time, so roughly 100 times, and we don't the other 200 times. What does our profit and loss look like when we make our flush and when we don't? Well, when we make it, we called an additional 1,000 to win a pot of 3,000 for a net profit of 2,000. And when we don't hit our flush, we lose that 1,000 chip call. Over the course of the experiment, it's 200,000 profit here. Just multiply 2,000 times by 100. Down here it's minus 200,000. So you can see already our net profit's 0. And again, the lesson here is that's because our equity was exactly equal to our pot odds. But remember, this is poker. We don't just want to break even. We want to make money. And how do we do that? We're looking for situations where our equity is actually greater than our pot odds. So let's go back through our example and show you what that would mean. So instead of the pot being 1,000, let's say it's 2,000. So when our opponent goes all in, the pot becomes 3,000, and our pot odds, we're still facing that 1,000 call, so our pot odds are now 3-to-1 instead of 2-to-1. In percentage terms, that's 1/4, or pot odds of 25%. equity is 33%, it's indeed greater than our 25% pot odds. What does that do to our experiment? Well, these numbers right here, these represent our equity, and that hasn't changed. Our percent chance of hitting the flush by the river is still 33%. What has changed is our profit and loss when we do hit that flush. Instead of 2,000 in chips, we're winning 3,000. And when we don't hit our flush, we're still actually just losing the 1,000, which is really good news. We win a little more when we get lucky, and we lose the same amount when we're unlucky. If we multiply this out over the entire experiment, on the top side, we're winning 300,000 now, and we're still losing 200,000 on the bottom side. If we net that out, it's $100,000 in profit over 300 hands, for an average profit of about 333 chips per hand.